You walk into a room. No one announces you. No one turns dramatically. And yet, some people are noticed instantly. Not because they try, but because something about them feels different. And the real reason is far stranger than you think. Because attraction was never designed to be logical. It was designed for survival. And your brain is still running that ancient code. So what are the dark traits that seem to attract women? And why do they work? Imagine this. You are living thousands of years ago. There is no society as you know it. No rules written down, no safety net. Your survival depends on who you choose to be around, who you trust, who you follow, who you stay close to. Now here's the key. In that world, attraction wasn't about being nice. It wasn't about being agreeable. It wasn't about being liked by everyone. It was about one thing. Power. Not loud power, not fake dominance, but the quiet ability to handle reality. And your brain still looks for that today. There's a psychologist named David Buss. He studied attraction across cultures, different countries, different environments, different societies. And he found something consistent. Women are not just attracted to kindness. They are attracted to capability, to confidence, to emotional stability under pressure. Why? Because those traits signal something deeper, the ability to survive, the ability to lead, the ability to protect. Even if none of those things are needed anymore, your brain doesn't know that. Now here's where it gets misunderstood. Some people hear this and think, be dominant, be aggressive, be cold, but that's not what works. That's imitation. And your brain is very good at spotting fake signals. So what actually creates attraction? Not surface behavior, but underlying signals. Take this trait, emotional control, not suppression, not pretending you don't feel anything, but the ability to stay steady when something goes wrong, when things get uncomfortable, when emotions rise. Most people react, they get nervous, they seek approval, they adjust themselves to be liked. But the person who stays grounded feels different. Why? Because your brain reads that as strength. Not loud strength, but internal stability. And that is rare. There's another researcher named Robert Sapolsky. He studied stress and behavior in primates, and he noticed something interesting. The individuals who stayed calm under pressure weren't just respected. They were followed, because stability signals safety. And safety creates attraction. Not excitement alone, but trust. Now think about this. You say something and immediately look for a reaction. Did they like it? Did it land? Should you adjust? That small behavior signals uncertainty, but someone who speaks and lets it land without chasing approval creates a different feeling. Not because they are better, but because they are not dependent. And that independence is powerful. Another trait, boundaries. Ancient humans had limited resources, time, energy, attention. You couldn't give those away freely. So people who valued their time were seen as valuable. Today, you can message instantly, reply instantly, be available all the time, but constant availability lowers perceived value. Not intentionally, but psychologically, because your brain still reads scarcity as importance. So when someone is selective, not distant, not playing games, just naturally not overextending, it signals something. This person has a life, a direction, a structure, and that draws attention. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Some traits that attract can look dark on the surface. Like detachment, like unpredictability, like emotional distance. But what's actually happening? Your brain is trying to solve a puzzle, and humans are wired to be drawn to what they don't fully understand. It creates focus, attention, curiosity. But this is where people get it wrong. They try to manufacture mystery, they become inconsistent, cold, unclear, and that doesn't create attraction. It creates confusion. Real attraction comes from clarity with depth, not chaos. There's also the concept of competence. In ancient environments, you had to be good at something. Hunting, building, navigating, leading. Your role mattered. Today, that translates differently, but the signal is the same. When someone is deeply engaged in something, focused, improving, they become more attractive, not because of what they do, but because of how they do it, with intention, with direction, with commitment. Then there's something subtle, silence. Most people fill space. They talk, they explain, they try to keep things going, but someone who is comfortable in silence, without tension, without rushing, creates a different presence. Because silence requires confidence. It requires not needing to prove anything. And that absence of need is powerful. Now think about attention. Where your attention goes, your value follows. If your attention is scattered, easily pulled, constantly reacting, it signals a lack of control. But focused attention signals discipline, direction, choice. And that changes how you are perceived. There's a concept in psychology called self-determination theory. It explains that humans are driven by three core needs: autonomy, competence, connection. When someone embodies autonomy, they don't feel controlled by others. They make choices. They move with intention. And that autonomy is attractive because it suggests independence, not isolation, but self-direction. So what actually makes someone irresistible? Not tricks, not lines, not strategies, but alignment between how they think, how they act, and what they value. When there is no contradiction, people feel it, even if they can't explain it. Here's the truth most people avoid. Attraction is not built by trying to attract. It's built by becoming someone who doesn't need to. Not because they are above it, but because their focus is elsewhere, on building, on growing, on living. And that shift changes everything. So when you walk into a room, and no one announces you, and nothing dramatic happens, that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Because the strongest signals are often the quietest, and the traits that seem dark are not about darkness at all. They are about depth, control, direction, and the ability to stand still in a world that is constantly reacting. You walk into a room. No one announces you. No one turns dramatically. But something feels different. Now you know why.